Hey everybody, it's Terry Battisti with the Bass Fishing Archives, and I'm sitting here with Bassmaster Elite Series angler Todd Auten. Everybody knows Todd's history. I mean, 40 top 20 finishes in Bassmaster, 6 FLW Cup qualifier, 2011 PAA Angler of the Year. Good career you've had, But we're sitting here at the National Fishing Lure Collectors Club NFLCC Pigeon Forge Meet, and kind of wondering what the heck are you doing here, Todd?
Well, I started coming here probably about 5 years ago, and I have a few buddies that come here and find all these great old flat-sided lures from East Tennessee.
Yeah.
And I just said, man, I just got to go to this show one of these days. And 5 years ago, I started the first time, and they have this room-to-room trading, which a lot of people know about. It's before the show, and you go in there and just room to room, and people's got fishing tackle laying everywhere. You just have to go through and look at everything, and believe it or not, we found some great crankbaits then, and ever since then I've been hooked.
Yeah.
And it's back every year, and this year we just decided to bring some stuff to sell to fund my hobby, But I do find a lot of fishing lures that I use here, so the hard to get discontinued stuff, and there's a lot of that here.
Mm-hmm.
And you can stock up on that stuff here, and all the lures are cheaper than what you're gonna pay in the store for sure.
Oh, or even on eBay.
Yeah.
I was looking at some deals today. It's like, holy mackerel! You want $2-3 for that? I'll take 10.
I mean, a lot of stuff is a quarter of the price. Some of it's half the price, but it's always seems like it's cheaper. Not unless you get into the collectibles, and then the price is going to keep going up every year.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you're looking for old head and stuff. I mean, a buddy of mine, he sold a couple baits for $5,000 this weekend.
See, I'm not in that level.
No.
I'm in the, I might spend $100 for a bait, but that's usually about the most. I did break down to buy a Steve Blazer signed here, and it's well worth $150.
Yeah.
Well worth it.
Yep. So, what baits did you bring? You brought Waterworld crankbaits, right?
Waterwoods, a bunch of stuff, that I hadn't needed in years, and actually bought out a friend that was needing to get rid of his stuff, and we actually brought a lot of that stuff and sold it, and it's just a little bit of everything.
Right.
Yeah. But the Waterwoods were, we have our online store. It's Auten Specialty Baits. I can't even say it, but we have Waterwoods on there, and some discontinued stuff I'll put on there. If I find a bunch of it, I'll put it on there and share it with everybody. So.
Right. So let's talk about Waterwood real quick. What is that crankbait? It's a North Carolina, South Carolina deal, right?
No. Well, actually, the guy Marcos Molicelli, he lives in South Carolina, and we're good friends over the years. And he just started this company, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, and it's been in the making and everything, but it's just been produced in the last few years. And it's a bait. It's like a balsa bait, but it's wood from the Amazon in Brazil, and he buys it legally and everything. It's
right.
A real good wood that they use. It's Marupa. I can't even say it. Petro or something.
Right.
I butchered that up bad, but he'll probably get a kick out of that. But anyway, it's a little denser. It holds up better than balsa, and it's a little bit heavier, so you can have them small baits and still be able to cast them real good.
Mm-hmm.
And man, he's come out with all these great colors, and if you like a flat side, it's compared to the old ones, it's right there or better. And I got to where the old ones I used to fish with, I don't use no more. I just put them in my collection now and use these baits because they're so much better quality.
So, and one of those baits costs are like $25 or $30, or
yeah, these you know, of course, we had some show specials going for like 3 for $100 here, but yeah, and the ones we have in our store are usually, you know, they're $38.50 all the time, and we do run some specials and stuff. Mm-hmm. And right now we still have, he has like fancy box, you know, that they come in. Nobody else does it, but the wood for that is getting hard to get for him, and they're going to have to do away with those. It will be special editions that only get in the wood boxes. But actually, I think the price is probably going to come down a little bit, actually, since he's getting rid of the wood boxes.
Right.
Which he needs, you know, he has to stay competitive, and it's a good time, you know, with their prices of everything else going up.
Yeah.
You know.
So maybe you don't want to divulge any secrets or something, but when you come to a show like this, what are you looking for? Are you looking for baits that you're going to fish? Are you looking for baits that you're collecting, or both?
Both, yeah. You know, of course, I hate to say some stuff, you know, what I like to fish sometimes, but, you know, everybody looks for, you know, old speed traps and speed shads and,
yeah.
You know, old wood flat-sided crankbaits, and I won't mention many of those, but, you know, we still use some of those baits, and, but they've gotten so collectible, and the price on them's, you know, $100, $200.
Yeah.
You hate to really fish them unless there's a tournament or something.
Right.
You break one out if you have to.
Yeah. So is there a line of lures that you like to collect just to collect, like balsa bees or?
You know, some McFarland baits, you know, I love his baits, Ronnie B stuff, which super hard to get. Pete Reynolds, Steve Blazers. Mm-hmm. You know, you still run across some tap baits, you know, the wet baits here. Just the older stuff, and it's usually the stuff that's discontinued. You can't find no more that's, you know, you're out looking for. Because if it's on the internet or something, you know, you can just buy it. But
yeah. You're
going to pay for it.
You're going to pay, yeah, and it's amazing. eBay 10 years ago was a great place to go to get deals on stuff, and now it's been destroyed.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Pricing.
Yeah, especially if you get into a bidding war, you know, if it's a buy it now type of thing, it can be good, but.
You might pay $100 for the bait one day, and the next time that same bait's on there, it's $50, and you're
right.
Scratching your head and, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Wrong time to buy it.
Oh man, so you really only started collecting until maybe 5 years ago, or were you collecting prior to that? Well,
you know, I've been fishing so long, it's like I've kept everything, you know, kind of like you said earlier, you've kept most of the things that you grew up fishing. And I've kept all that stuff, and eventually over time you know, you get all the colors of this, you get a collection, you know.
Yeah.
There's been a time where I sold all my Bagleys, and then now I got a whole nother collection. It's just like when you're fishing for this long, a lot of stuff just finds you. I can't explain it, and you know, you run across a nice Bagley bait or something, I'll just buy it, you know, if it's reasonable. You know, I'm not going to go out here and pay $200 for one right yet, you know. And now if I get near to the end of a collection, I do it just to finish it off. But you know, the old wiggle warts, even you still find them here in abundance, you know, but they start getting a little pricey too.
Oh man, even 10 years ago, I remember I was looking at an eBay sale, and this was a bid on a wiggle wart. It went for like $365.
Wow.
But, you know, it was one of those one-off colors. It was probably painted for some single store in the Midwest. And
we actually, my wife actually bought a collection of wiggle warts. And I think we need about 17 different colors, and all of them is very expensive.
Yes, exactly.
But, you know, that's one reason we came here, to find some of those baits, and we never really, we didn't find one of them here. You know, they're that hard to get now.
Yeah, and I think the NFLCC show that they have up in Missouri is probably the place that you're going to find.
Probably.
Yeah.
But they know what they got up there.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
That's why I was trying to get a deal down here, but
Mm-hmm.
you know, we did buy a few wiggle worts just because you couldn't pass up the price. You know,
Yeah.
$5 or $10 on a couple of them.
Yeah, for
You
that.
know, old bait
Mm-hmm.
catches fish.
Yeah. Yep. As bad as it might have looked, it's the one that caught fish.
Yep, that's definitely, if it says wiggle wart on it, you know, guys collect it.
Mm-hmm.
They know what it is.
Yeah. So there's another thing that I've wanted to talk about with you for a long time is that you're credited as the guy that put the toad on the buzzbait. How the heck did that come about?
Well, my wife's parents had a swimming pool, so we'd go over there a lot, and I'd test baits in there and stuff. But I don't know. One day I was just sitting around and I was like, you know, there's got to be something I can make to catch big fish. You know, it's like, you know, what do you got? You got a frog, you got a buzz bait. Those are both big fish baits. I said, what if I could put it together, you know, and make something? And I was on Zoom, you know, I got a Zoom Horny Toad. I put one on a real thin light wire. It probably didn't even weigh a quarter ounce buzz bait. And man, I threw that thing in the pool and I was like, wow. You know,
That's a lot of
that thing was like, it come up real quick and it was, you know, it looked good. And I said, you know what, that might work. And then I went down, I think I walked down to the pond we got down there and I caught like 12 fish on it. And I was like, this is something here, you know, and then, you know, try to keep it under the table and then my buddies find out about it and then it's.
Who let it out?
Well, got Chris Baumgartner, Eric Weir, you know, probably Pat Turney, Brian New, all these guys.
Brian, he was probably about 10 years old when that happened, right?
Andy Montgomery, Brian Thrift, there's some more in there. But they all made it famous. And
how long did you have it to yourself?
there was a couple tournaments.
Oh my God, it didn't even last a year.
No. Well, you know, with co-anglers back then, it was, you know, things didn't stay a secret very long. And you can't hide it, you know.
Yeah.
Catching fish on it, people's going to really pay attention to what it is, and you know.
So did you first start rigging it without the skirt, or did you have the skirt on it when you first started rigging it?
You know, I think the best I can remember is I just had a buzz bait. You know, I have a lot I pour myself sometimes, and it was just bare. You know, no paint, nothing. So I just hooked it through there, and I was like, man, that fits good. You know,
It ain't gonna come off.
No, it's not coming off, and that's where it went from there. You know, I never put skirts on it, and you know, a lot of people just slide it up to the head.
Yeah.
But I always pushed it over top of the head, and I'll take a little glue and glue the nose a little bit, you know, because that's the best skipping buzz bait you'll ever have. You know, you take and skip that thing.
Yeah.
But I got to where I changed and put heavier wire in it, and you know, you can use a smaller blade and it's a lot easier to skip, but I like the big blade, so I usually stick with that. And it's usually just old white Horny Toad on there, and just a homemade buzz bait. But you know,
So you use white predominantly?
yeah, pretty much. I'll use a white. We did win a tournament, me and Pat, on a pink one. I took and dyed some white ones, and Pat kind of laughed at me about it, but we went out and won it was a Toyota bonus or owners tournament on Lake Norman. We won using that bait, and it's, you know, since then I've had Zoom make me some bubblegum colored ones, and and that lasted a little while until people found out. But there's a lot of people who's doing that now.
Well, it's interesting. You talk to most people that throw buzz baits, and the only color they have is black.
Yeah.
And it just is
Well, I think like on Lake Wiley where I grew up, a lot of the fish we caught there seemed like they was always just super shallow, around brim beds and stuff, and the buzzbait was perfect for just going down the bank and covering a lot of water. And over, the years, you found out which banks, to fish, and had maybe a little bit of shade on them at a certain time of day. And it seemed like those fish would just be hanging out right there at the little shade pockets.
Shade line.
Yeah. And if you had too much shade, it wasn't no good, but you just had have a little spot here and there, and it'd hold a fish.
Right.
You was fishing for one fish at a time, but you wasn't gonna run in a pocket and usually catch 3 or 4, it's just like a one fish deal and move to the next one.
Yeah.
Not unless you found a real good brim bed or something, sometimes you catch 2 or 3, but.
Right.
But that bait was perfect for that lake for a while. And, that's when it had largemouth in it. Now it seems like all you catch is spotted bass.
Yeah. Norman's changed quite a bit over the years.
Yeah, and Wiley,
Or Wiley.
Yeah. But it works good at Norman up there. I think Brian Thrift won a tournament up there on it. And
I think Brian Thrift won a tournament on every lake.
yeah, and I think Andy used it some up there in the Whopper Flopper. I think he was come out. He used both of those.
Yeah.
But I hadn't won a tournament on it yet, and that's what kind of made me mad.
Well, hopefully they're giving you a little kickback or something.
Well, Zoom, is one of my sponsors, but anybody can take a buzzbait and just hook a frog on it, throw it.
Yeah, that's the thing is that you were the guy that did it first. So
yeah, it's just somebody might have did it way back in the day and not realize what they did, and I don't know, but I come up with it one day and it worked, so went with it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So we got the show goes from 8 o'clock until 11 o'clock, or 1 o'clock in the afternoon tomorrow. Is there anything that you're still looking for that isn't top secret?
No, I mean, the Nike step baits, there's a bunch of them here, you can get, and they're pretty pricey, but I told Susan, I said, I'd like to get one more before I leave, but I got like 7 or 8 of them, but, I'd like to get one of those every year, just stick in the collection,
Yeah, Mike Estep, for people that don't know, Mike Estep was taught by Fred C. Young on how to make the Big O, because Fred couldn't keep up with production even after he sold the bait to Cordell. And so there was a bunch of other builders in Oak Ridge and Maryville and the other surrounding Knoxville towns that Fred actually taught how to make these baits. And so that's why you see all that stuff coming out of here. And Estep is the guy that actually gave Roland Martin a bunch of baits back in 1972, 73.
Yeah.
And Roland would fish the Estep bait over the Big O.
Yeah.
So
he made it famous back then, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. So, Todd, I appreciate your time, sir. Let me crowd into your hotel room here.
Yeah, it's a little tight quarters here, but it's quiet here anyway. It's
exactly. Exactly. Well, sir.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate you.
Yep. No problem.